All right, what is going on, everybody? Got a bit of a different video. Um, got a bit of a different topic, sort of outside the game of basketball, but surrounding the game of basketball and the NBA and where we're at current day. Obviously, you can see in front of you we have finals average ratings, viewership over the past 30 years. I had to cut some of it off, so I only started in the 2000s. Um, Shout out Sports Media Watch for having this graphic. Mint. Great graphic. We're going to talk about the final stuff, but we're going to talk about a few other things too and try to keep this short. I'm obviously going to talk about this from a fan perspective. I'm not some CEO at some company or whatever. I don't know the backdoor deals and everything that goes on and goes in between these guys and who has the rights to the NBA and this and that. I know a little bit. There's a great Bill Simmons video on the Bill Simmons podcast where he talks about it a lot more in depth. Um, I'll link that maybe somewhere. But for right now, I want to talk about NBA viewership and why it continues to decline. I saw this tweet last night from Frank Michael Smith on Twitter. I don't know where he got these numbers from, but I'm going to take it as some validation or some uh, what do you call it? Uh, some credibility, and but also take them with a grain of salt. But I'm pretty sure you can find these numbers as well um, in a more accurate way. NBA Cup viewership is down 10%. ESPN viewership is down 28%. Um, and playoff viewership is down 12%. Um, and the major problem is half the league's fans can't watch their teams play without buying packages outside of basic cable. Um, Now, as somebody on the East Coast, um, I do have access to some Knicks games. Um, when I go up to Boston, or when I have gone up to Boston, or that area, you do have access to the Celtics TV network as well. And when you go down to Philly and the Washington area, you do have access to those networks as well, where you can watch the Wizards, the the Sixers. At least it was when I was down there a while back. Um, I think, and this is gonna be a lot of opinion stuff. Obviously, numbers are in front of you. I read some numbers, and I'm gonna read some more numbers here in a minute, but more opinion based stuff here. I think the major problem with NBA media and NBA viewership is that a lot of people, the generation after me, I'm in my mid 20s, um, their attention span is just isn't there. It isn't there. And they don't want to sit down and watch an NBA game. They just don't. And what they want even less is to watch a game where they don't know the players. Um, Not saying the casual fan doesn't have to know every player, but it feels like in years past, in past years, when did I start watching? I started watching in like, I think it was like 2013, 2014, and then I really started getting into it a couple years later. So I've almost been watching for a decade now. Um, I feel like even when you weren't, even when you were a casual, you knew the players. You knew a lot of the players. Um, you knew like um, D Wade. You knew like um, I'm gonna name people that are so like surface level, but like that's what casual people know. They knew the D Wades. They knew the up and coming Steph Curry, Clay Thompson. They knew um, Kevin Garnett. They knew Paul Pierce. They knew these guys. They knew Rajon Rondo. They knew Darren Williams. They knew Chris Paul. They knew um, just guys. And I feel like now that's lost. It's lost because like uh, we can talk about ring culture of if you don't have a championship or if you don't have anything to your name, you really aren't anything in this league. it's a what have you done for me recently league, but at the same time, people don't care. People don't care enough about like just some random players, and I think there's a weird space where either you don't know them and you're just a casual and you just know players on your closest team to your vicinity or the team your parents like or whatever the case may be or your brother likes. But there's also the oh, I'm a fan, and then there's I'm a super fan, and then there's somewhere in between super fan and fan is knowing niche players. Um Knowing very niche players and knowing their names, knowing their draft position and everything like that. And I think there are some of those players, but there are some of those people that watch the game, but the vast majority of people aren't those people. And I'm gonna lean into something here that I think is indicative of who people like is the top jersey sellers for last year. Um, the top five are Steph Curry, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Victor Wembanyama, and Giannis. One out of those four guys is on a big team, and two out of those three guys are under 20, under almost said under 20, under 30. I believe Giannis is turning 30 or about to be 30 soon. Um, Jason Tatum and Victor Wembanyama. Both are in pretty decent markets. Boston's probably a little bit better than San Antonio, but and then going after Giannis is Luka, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Maxey. Luka and Maxey are the only guys that are from recent drafts. Lillard's from almost I think a decade ago now. Kevin Durant's almost more than a decade ago. Like and Devin's still pretty young, but Devin's pretty decisive as a player. I don't know how many people like him anymore, especially the Lucas stands. And then you have John Morant, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, LaMelo Ball, and Jalen Brunson as the top jersey sellers for last year. All these guys are on pretty good teams. Sans LaMelo, Sans Tyrese Maxey, um, Victor Wembanyama. He's still young enough. The team probably could be good in the next 3 years, and he could be number two in jersey sales. Um, but to combine these numbers, because I think when at least when I buy a jersey, I think, do I really like this player? Is this jersey going to look good if I wear it, or if it's going to look good on my wall? And do I want to spend my hard-earned money on this guy's jersey? Um, the answer is most of the time yes. And is it a cool jersey? I made a whole video about the jerseys too. Um, this year's jerseys, talk about that. That's whole in that video. It's a whole separate video. But um, I think what people want to spend their hard-earned cash on is important, and I think it's important to tell you how like these players are too. And obviously, over the past couple years, um, Steph Curry's been to the finals, LeBron's been to the finals, Jason Tatum won the finals, Giannis has been, um, Devin Booker has been, Kevin Durant has been, not recently, somewhat recently. Um, Nikola Jokic has been there and won. So a lot of these guys are champions, and as you can see on their on the screen in front of you, the team associated with these players, you can look at the numbers. We'll work our way backwards here. Denver versus Miami. Is that Denver versus Miami? MIA. Oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Damn, that was a long time. That feels like a long time ago. Um, 11 million people watched it, right? Nikola Jokic is probably the biggest name in there. Um, Boston versus Golden State. Steph Curry versus Jason Tatum, both big jersey sellers. A little bit of an increase, 12 million. Um, Milwaukee versus Phoenix. This was pre Kevin Durant, so it would really only be Devin Booker and Giannis. Not not the best, but that was sort of a COVID era, yeah. And Lakers versus Miami. LeBron James is the only guy up here. LeBron James is an anomaly for this list. I think this was the first time he wasn't number one in a long time. Um, and then you have Toronto, Golden State. Toronto's in a completely different situation right now. So it was Steph Curry, but at the time, Kawhi Leonard was a favorite. Kyle Lowry was a favorite. Like and it just goes up if you just continue backwards. I mean, Golden State. People complain about Golden State versus Cleveland. And it was a boring era, and we hated it because we knew who it was going to be. It was just blah blah blah. These numbers are up, man. These are up. 17.6 million people watched that finals, right? That's comparable to Detroit and LA when they did their battle. Granted that was the last time Golden State and Cleveland faced off, but the highest they had was the year previous to that one in 2017, where it was Golden State versus Cleveland, and they had 20.4 million, and that was the biggest in the last in both decades. That was the biggest. So I people complained about it, but people were watching it, and growing people who grew up watching LeBron and Steph and everybody and KD at the time. And the playoffs were good too, leading up to these finals. These last 2 years, the playoffs were really good those years. Lots of great moments. And I say this, and I bring up the jersey numbers again because I don't feel like people not relate to these players anymore, but like people are so quick. Fans are so quick to call players busts, to judge players and not wait on their success, and the loyal fans will and this and that, but at the same time, I think it's just very hard for people nowadays because everybody wants it now. It's the microwave media era where everybody just wants it now. We want success now. We want the viewership now, and leaning back in towards the viewership is what has happened recently. Was ESPN is going to take over the majority of the NBA schedule, and the NBA will sprinkle in other games and other networks, right? Other streaming platforms, even as well. Um, I was really pulling for a couple months ago that they would sell it to Amazon, they would sell it to another streaming platform, and move into this new era of we are still going to have some games on cable. We have the local networks and everything that can still broadcast the games, but a majority of the big time games will be on Amazon. And I thought that would be a brilliant idea because it would lessen the amount of random networks that get, or not random networks, but even last night and tonight there was one game on ESPN and one game on TNT and one game and on Saturday it's gonna be one game on ABC and one game on TNT, and like obviously you can watch a majority of this stuff on the NBA app, but the NBA app is also not so great. I say all this to say I think it's just very hard for people to find somewhere where they know they can consistently watch a game and it has consistently good um, production. And that's another part of this, and we can touch on that in a minute. But to finish my thought is that my hope was that it would be on Amazon, so you could watch it whenever, wherever you have it on Amazon. You can watch it on your laptop, you can watch it on your smart TV, you can watch it on your phone, whatever the case may be. And I thought it would be great. And then whatever happened with TNT and ESPN and the NBA and this and that and whatever, um, it, it, the future of the digestible media of the NBA looks like it's heading towards the worst direction, you know, because a lot of these other, like, besides the primetime games, if I want to watch, because Charlotte doesn't have a lot of nationally televised games. If I want to watch Charlotte versus the Hawks, I have to get the NBA app, you know, and I get it. The NBA needs to make money. Obviously, the viewership is declining, and the NBA Cup is supposed to boost some of these season numbers. It's really not. At least this season, it isn't. But it's just sort of hard to say I can watch any NBA game whenever I want, you know? I can on the NBA app, but the NBA app is bad. I've heard nothing good about the NBA app except that you can watch 4 games at once, you know? And the coverage isn't great and sometimes it freezes and this and that, and I would rather have them sold it to Amazon because Amazon has a already in place system with streaming, you know? That was my preference, but that's neither here nor there. I want to touch on what I mean by the microwave media and the the presentation of the NBA. The NBA on ESPN is absolute garbage. I I refuse to watch the halftime show. I refuse to engage in any NBA media on ESPN, except for Shams, because Shams is the goat of reporting right now. Ever since Adrian Wojnarowski retired, he was also diagnosed with cancer. Um, Thoughts and prayers for Woj, but yeah, the NBA on ESPN is absolute tripe. It's tripe. Um, and their halftime show consists of, okay, Stephen A. go, okay, Kendrick Perkins go, okay, Bob Myers, whoever else is there go. You have 1 minute to talk about whatever, and that's not fun. I don't want to watch that. And the reason they do it is so they can get it into clips and they can put it on Instagram, they can put it on Twitter, they can put it on uh, TikTok, and they do it that way so it's fast. And they want the hot takes and they want this and they want that and they want predictions, this and that and that and that, and that's just and it's for the younger generation so they can digest it, but they're not even digesting it because the numbers are down, you know. And if you do look, and I say the numbers are down because realistically they are down because recently ESPN started counting bars, barbershops, wherever you see it on in the background towards their actual viewing numbers. You see what I mean? So if you have ESPN on and NBA Today comes on, nobody's gonna change it. It's just gonna play. They're gonna count that as a viewing number. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily tied in with the NBA, but that's in the NBA universe. It's in the NBA stratosphere. You know what I mean? Um, and I just think it's we need to, and I will give credit. ESPN is probably the ones that do it the worst. TNT knows how to do it, and I hope when TNT and ESPN merger sort of happens, I wouldn't say merger, but like when the TNT crew, that Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, Charles, right now, come over to ESPN. I hope they don't make them do the stupid here's 1 minute talk about the game. TNT does it the best. They have a funny conversation about the game. Charles doesn't know a player. Kenny goes to the board, talks about the game. They come back, they talk about the game. Maybe they talk about another game that's happening that isn't on national television. They watch some highlights. They do EJ's Nito Saturday night, all that good stuff, right? That's brilliant. And it's worked for years. And I'm not saying ESPN has to replicate that. I'm not saying they have to do it the way they do it, but either be informative and funny or just be informative or just be funny. ESPN is doing neither of those things right now. They are not being informative outside of Shams Charania. They are not being. I don't want to hear from Kendrick Perkins, the one-time champion Celtic, and he acts like he has like 5 rings. I don't want to hear from him. I don't want to hear from that guy. His takes are terrible. Stephen A is hit or miss sometimes. Bob Myers is actually very insightful at times, but he's still a little new and he's still like not comfortable. Um, Host Malika Andrews, I don't even want to talk about her. Um, Chine um, brings some interesting things to the table sometimes, um, but I just think the overall crew on ESPN is bad, and I think that's also why viewership is down. Is the old guard, the old NBA fans don't want to listen to that nonsense, but they think ESPN thinks they're catering to the new fans, but the new fans don't know these people. They don't care. So ESPN has failed to make it interesting. ESPN and ABC are together, so if ABC is also on the screen, just so everybody knows. And you just it's just bad. It's bad presentation for the game. And when the presentation is bad for the game and the game itself is bad, and I really don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of why is the NBA bad now? The NBA itself bad? Is it because of the threes? Is it because of the player load management? Is it because of this? Is it because of that? It could be 100 different things. Me personally, I've loved this season so far. I can see from an outside perspective, if you're watching the game for the first time, you're like, why are they shooting so many threes? Why is the game so fast paced? Why this is so unwatchable? This guy gets fouled on every play. I get it. I don't mind it too much. I think the overall product is okay. I do think some rule changes do need to be implemented. I saw a crazy one the other day that the NBA needs to have a 3 point threshold. Like you can only take so many threes in a game. I think that's crazy. One that I'm a big proponent of is getting rid of the corner three. Just extending the arc all the way out to the out of bounds line. Get rid of the corner three. I think that would help. Um, there are a bunch of different things that could change the game that probably won't come. Things that have come into the game, the shot clock resetting when it's out of bounds to 15 instead of 24. The NBA, the challenge, you can challenge a call. You get your challenge back now too. There are some changes that have come in this era of Adam Silver, but the overall product of the game and the overall presentation of the game is bad. And I am not a smart enough guy to tell you how to fix it. I think people that love this game, like I love this game, um, like things more in depth, like things more interesting. They like last year when they had JJ Redick. JJ Redick was brilliant. I really wish the Lakers didn't take him as a coach. I talked about he wanted to coach for a long time, but I think he was really finding his feet in media, and it's a shame. It's sort of a shame for a selfish shame that he is a coach now for the Lakers, but that's neither here nor there. He was doing great. I think you need to bring more either funny people or people that are actually engaging, that actually and give them time to talk. You know, um, I was a if anybody remembers the jump with Rachel Nichols, that was the pinnacle of NBA media. That was pre-COVID, and then it got canceled for a bunch of reasons I won't get into here. You can look it up yourself, but that was pinnacle NBA media for me because they had a bunch of people on the show. They had articulate people. They had funny people. They had Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson before all the smoke. This is before the NBA podcast player era. This is a little bit before that, and it was a great show. And I just feel like ESPN has lost that, and they've fallen into this trap of trying to appeal to the younger audience, but the younger audience doesn't care, and they also can't satisfy the bit older audience and the people that actually like the game and want to enjoy the game and hear intellectual conversations, but also funny conversations um, about the game. They've missed that boat too, and I think I hope viewership doesn't decline. I'm always going to be watching, but I just think they're in a weird spot right now, and we have to see what next year is with when they bring the TNT crew to ESPN and see what happens because they are going to cover those finals, not this one, the next year's finals. So maybe it does improve over this new era going into next year. But the past few years since COVID and even pre-COVID have been less than satisfactory. And I think the Adam Silver era, the Commissioner Adam Silver era, has had its ups and downs. The viewership has definitely been a, a very, very big misstep for him. And I hope the NBA can come together and fix this problem along with um, whatever provider they're with at whatever given time to produce and show the game we all love. So yeah, um, if you like the video, like what I have to say, like the video. Um, if you have your own opinions about this, I know it's kind of an obscure topic, but it's been going around the last couple days, last couple months, so I figured I'd talk on it as well. Comment your own opinions down below, and if you just like the vibes or just like my voice, maybe, uh, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching. Cheers.